Okay, we are live.
Okay. Welcome to the Chaska Human Rights Commission for February 25th, 2021. We have a whole bunch of new people here, and so I'm excited to get to the meeting tonight. But first I have to read our statement for Zoom, so bear with me. Welcome, everyone. As you can tell, this meeting looks a little different. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are holding our meeting via video teleconference. Because the City Council has declared a local emergency for the COVID-19 pandemic, state statute allows us to hold our meetings remotely. Even though we aren't meeting in person, we want to make sure that the public can participate. So if you have joined the meeting by Zoom, you will notice you are muted. We have a moderator, Kevin, on the call who will unmute those who wish to speak during the public comment portions of the meeting. Public comments will be reserved for visitor presentation, public hearings, or special circumstances determined by the commission. Once we reach those parts of the agenda, I will ask if there are any public comments. If you wish to speak and have joined the meeting by computer or tablet, please click on participants on the bottom of your screen and select the raise hand icon. If you wish to speak and have joined the meeting by phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. Once your hand is raised, the moderator will announce your name or phone number and unmute your line. Please remember that public comment is provided at the discretion of the commission and is meant to provide productive discourse on topics related to the City of Chaska. Speakers shall refrain from comment or behavior that is deemed disorderly, derogatory, obscene, indecent, or off topic. Any person engaging in such speech or action may be muted or removed from the meeting. Those of you who are watching online or on Comcast Channel 15, please be aware of the following. Some of our commissioners, city staff, and presenters are participating in the meeting remotely. There is a delay between the live meeting and the broadcast. All commission actions will be taken by roll call vote. We are working hard to make sure that you can be heard as we protect everyone's health and safety. Thank you for your patience as we work through this unprecedented situation. The end.
And
okay, so now we can start the real meeting, and we'll start with Nate calling the roll.
yes, so Commissioner Carlson.
Present.
Commissioner Castillo.
Present.
Commissioner Haga.
Present.
Commissioner Hubbard. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, present.
Commissioner Sanderson.
Present.
Commissioner Spreadberry is absent tonight. We have two Commissioners White, so I will go through my list I've got here. Commissioner Sienna White.
Present.
And Commissioner Lisa White.
Present.
Commissioner Hughes.
Present.
And Commissioner Wilbur.
I'm here too.
All right, so the only absence tonight would be Commissioner Spreadberry.
Okay. So we have the agenda in front of us. And do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Sarah,
So moved.
so moved.
Second by Haga.
Okay. All in
Right,
favor of adopting the agenda?
I will do the roll vote since we're on the Zoom platform for this. So I'll go through it. Commissioner Carlson.
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo.
Aye.
Commissioner Haga.
Aye.
Commissioner Hubbard.
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Sienna White.
Aye.
and Commissioner Lisa White.
Aye.
Commissioner Dante Hughes.
Aye.
All right. I think the motion passes.
Okay. We'll move on to item 3, which is open forum guest presentation. And tonight we are joined by 2 guests that I see on here. We have Marshall Grange from the Parks and Rec Department and Chief Ryan Seibert of the Chaska Police Department. And I believe you're here just to kind of introduce yourselves to the commission. And we've
Yeah,
been doing a couple of things so far with the police department and Parks and Rec recently. And so we just thought it'd be great if the whole commission got to meet some of the representatives from the different agencies that we're working with.
yeah. And for the new commissioners, this is something that came out of, and you wouldn't have been here last year. We really focused some effort on coming up with a strategic plan for the commission. So working with the council jointly to do that, and coming up, and this is in your packet, the strategic plan. It's also on the website. I think I may have emailed it to you all as well. So hopefully you've at least had a time to take a peek. But in it is really intended to define the role of the commission, expectations that the commission has of itself and the council of it. And then also some key strategies and goals to be working on here over the course of the next, 2-3 years was the time frame that we had in mind at the time. Part of that is forming more relationships and working more closely across departments at the city. And so we've started that, really focusing with the Parks and Rec Department and the Police Department, understanding that those are 2 of the departments in the city that really have a large degree compared to others of public interaction and engagement. And I think opportunity to find new ways and explore improvements to how they currently interact with the community, to just continue to cast a broader net, engage with more people and have broader appeal. And those are priorities that they've both shared for some time now. And I think they both viewing that the Human Rights Commission could have a lot to offer as far as providing new perspectives and being a sounding board for some of the initiatives that they're trying to take on. So since tonight, I think in part is about introduction and getting to know one another, not only on the commission, but with staff. I asked Marshall and Chief Seibert to join and just give an introduction and get to know you all a little bit better. So you've got a face with the name, and we'll be working with them and their staff more closely as we proceed through the year as well. So Marshall, I don't know if you want to go first. You just happen to be first on my screen, so I'll pick on you.
Hi, here we go. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. And yeah, it's great to join you and meet you all and introduce myself as the Parks and Recreation Director. And like Nate said, talked about, we're really excited to, kind of partner a little bit more into the future as we think about more diversity and inclusion in how that relates to what we do in Parks and Recreation. And so I thought I would just share maybe a few things that are going on within our department that I think would be of interest to this group. The first one is sort of hot off the press, and I believe Jen, Sarah, and Kaylee got an email today from Aaron Link about an exciting program that's going to be coming out. It's a partnership between the Parks and Rec Department along with the Carver County Arts Consortium. And so this is something we had been working on throughout the end of last year, and in terms of the partnership. And it was back in December when the City Council approved a lease agreement for the Arts Consortium to have some space within the Chaska Community Center. So if you haven't had a chance yet, I encourage you to check that out. They got a nice little gift kind of art shop in the former cafeteria there. We're also partnering with them on the exhibits that will be occurring in the gallery area outside of the theater. But then another major component of it was an agreement on a arts program partnership between the consortium and our Parks and Recreation Department. And so it's relatively new, and we've spent a lot of the last, previous month just setting things up and getting a lot of the kind of systems in place for us to move forward. But we're starting to now get to the point where we're going to be rolling out some programming. And so one of the programs that came out that I can share with you is basically focusing on how we all belong in Carver County. It's an empowerment workshop that is going to be bringing in elements of comedy, improv, and photography. And it's going to be a free event. It was it's getting paid for through a grant that the Arts Consortium was able to obtain through the Minnesota State Arts Board. And it's going to be done through Zoom on Thursday nights, beginning March 18th, and it'll go through April 22nd. And I'll just go real quick here and kind of give you an idea of some of the topics that they're going to be talking about. So the first one on the 18th is going to include an improv comedy for 45 minutes. And then there'll be some just introductions and getting to know people in small groups. And then there's going to be a photo project with a focus on taking a selfie that night and learning about the rules of three. And then the week after that, the topic is going to be on racial diversity. And we'll be learning about empowering ways of communication and how to handle difficult conversations. And the photography concept that night will be on focus. April 1st, the topic is going to be on aging, and the photography concept will be on contrast. And then April 8th, the topic is going to be on disabilities with a photography concept on pattern. April 15th, the topic is going to be on LGBTQ with a photo concept on connection and separation. And then the final week, the topic is going to be about youth with a photo concept on emphasis. And so I think in the end, what's going to ultimately happen is there's going to be a public art display that comes about with this kind of photography piece to it. But the intent is really to bring, people together and hear each other's voices and kind of learn from each other through these varieties of topics that will be facilitated through it's the Blackout Improv Comedy Group. So you can register for that as of today. It's available to register for at the community center's website. So you go to chaskacommunitycenter.com, and then you'll see a tab up there called registration. And then from there, you can click on all programs. And then in the keyword search, just type in the word empower, and you'll see that program come up, and you can go ahead and get registered for it. So we're looking forward to that. Another interesting thing I thought I'd share is this other group that I've been involved with called Park RX. And that's a group that has come about with involvement of Carver County, Scott County, Health and Human Services, along with the Arboretum and Three Rivers Park District. And about a year and a half ago, we were working on a partnership and really keying in on the evidence-based research that's coming out in that there's health benefits to spending time in parks. And so we're working on partnering with healthcare providers and trying to come up with a program in which they would actually prescribe time in the parks as part of a treatment plan for individuals that might be suffering with like anxiety or depression or things like that. We had a lot of good momentum going, but then COVID hit, and the healthcare industry's obviously got a lot of other things that they need to be focusing on. And so as a group, we've decided, one of the things that came out of COVID was pretty eye-opening is the fact a lot of people did go out and spend more time in the parks. And so what we're wanting to do is change our focus a little bit more and try to understand amongst our diverse community, are there still barriers that exist from individuals utilizing the parks? And if we can understand what those barriers are, can we come up with some solutions? And so one of the things we've decided on is to focus on the Latinx community, just because that's a prominent community here in Chaska as it relates to Carver County, but then also with the city of Shakopee over in Scott County. And so we're having some discussions, and one of our next steps is going to be reaching out to, there's actually an organization that's called Outdoor Latino Minnesota. And so we're going to be lining up a meeting with Ruben Garza, who heads that up, and try to learn from him with some of the things that have worked in other communities. So I can provide more updates as I know more on that. Another thing that we're embarking on is developing a pedestrian and bicycle master plan for the city of Chaska. And so proposals for that from the consultants are actually due next week, Monday. So we'll be reviewing those and selecting a consultant to work with. But I know Sarah is involved on the bicycle friendly community committee that we've been working on. And, as we think about pedestrian and bicycle friendly community, equity is one of the lenses we'll be looking at as we develop that plan. So I'm excited for that work. And then lastly, we still continue to do a lot of things through the Chaska Cares team that I'm a part of, and Kevin Wright is a part of as well. We also have representation from the police department, so Julie Jenke, along with the fire department and Parks and Recreation. And so, that kind of grew out of COVID, but we really have a desire to sustain that, ongoing. And a couple of the initiatives that we're looking at coming up is we did have a Stuff the Bus event scheduled that got canceled due to freezing cold weather. So we're looking to reschedule that here in March, and that'll be a partnership between Southwest Transit, Cub Foods, and Cooper Foods to try to encourage people to purchase a few extra things when they're going in for their grocery shopping to help out people in need, and then look for partners to distribute that. We got another community food distribution event coming up on Thursday, March 11th. So those have been very successful, and our Chaska Cares team typically partners on those, and we take some of that food and actually bring it over to the senior residents that are within the senior housing. So we'll be doing that again.
And that's one, Marshall, that we're always looking for volunteers for.
Yeah.
So that is an opportunity for those of you who are available. Typically, it's a daytime activity during the week. So I know there's restraints for some folks who are working, but that is an opportunity, and we'll advertise and let you know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I'm glad to see Sienna White here, because I had heard about the group that she has started with the school district, 112% kindness. And so we've talked about that within our Chaska Cares group, and we're hoping to reach out to you, Sienna, and set up a time where we could meet with your group along with the Chaska Cares group and ideally identify some areas that we could collaborate on into the future, because one of the things that I see the Chaska Cares Group potentially doing into the future is really kind of being a facilitator of some community service projects. You know, so how can we partner with service-oriented organizations in the community, but then maybe work with students to help kind of carry out some of those service projects. And especially at the Chaska Community Center being right across the street from the middle schools, I'm always thinking of ways to engage middle schoolers. And, you know, I think there could be an opportunity there for maybe the high school students to be leaders and mentor some of the middle school students as well. So we'll look forward to some of that discussion. So yeah, it's a lot of exciting stuff going on. It's great to meet you all, and I'm happy to take on any questions or suggestions you may have.
They're stunned by your brilliance, Marshall.
No,
Oh,
I'm trying to
whatever.
find my unmute.
Oh, okay.
So I just wanted to say, I mean, we partnered for our first activity kind of with the Human Rights Commission on the Martin Luther King Day event, and got to work with some folks from over at Parks and Rec. And it just brought like a whole other level to some of the programming that we kind of figured out for this year. And I appreciated that so much, because it's fun to, you know, we have different connections in different areas. And so I'm really excited to see how else we can, you know, make this stuff grow when we're doing these projects, because I was really inspired by what we did just with the small group of people that had worked on that Martin Luther King event. So I appreciate that you came tonight, Marshall, and I really appreciate the people who had come from Parks and Rec, you know, to help us out with stuff and collaborate, because that was really cool.
Yeah, it's great to hear. And yeah, there's a lot of, I'm fortunate to have a very passionate and talented staff that, you know, are willing to, you know, help out. And, you know, we're all about trying to engage the community. And, you know, our vision statement is creating lifelong memories and a healthy lifestyle for all to enjoy, you know, and there was a pretty big emphasis and intention on that word all. And so we're just trying to live that out as we go forward.
Thanks, Marshall. Unless there's any other questions, I guess I'll open it up for Chief Seibert to introduce himself.
All right. Well, I don't hear anything else, so I'll just start. Well, good evening,
Brian.
Commissioners. As I look around, I see some faces that I know from past meetings, and Mr. Hubbard, Mr. Hughes. Nice to see you again. We did some collaboration previously in some meetings, and always appreciate your insight, especially the new faces. I look forward to meeting you more in the future and seeing how we can work together. But like Nate had indicated, I'm Ryan Seibert, the police chief, and I'm also new here as well in this role. I think I've been here for just about a year now. And I will double down on what Marshall had indicated too. I am also very fortunate to have a really talented and caring staff here at the police department. And just a few things I want to touch on. And the one thing, if I can leave you with just one thing that you remember, is a sense of optimism that I have regarding, you know, potentially how we can work together. Because I think there is a great deal of fusion and symmetry on what we hope to accomplish between the Human Rights Commission, the police department, Park and Rec, Chaska Cares, and just the city in general. I think there's a lot of growth that we can look at here in terms of our partnership, and what that will look like. You know, I have some ideas, but what's very important to me in my previous roles, which obviously still carries with me today, is community policing and outreach. And COVID has done such a disservice in so many different ways. But one thing that suffered is that human connection. And we can really do these things, over Zoom. We can meet with the community and have conversations electronically, but we lose something in translation, I think. And when I talk about that fusion, as we look towards the future, what a great opportunity between Park and Rec, the different programs, the facilities that they have in the police department. If we wanted to have some kind of call it a get together, a Q&A, maybe it would be topic driven sometimes. And I think with the Human Rights Commission, with the varying perspectives that you bring to the table, you might look at things a little bit differently than I do. So if we were looking at doing some kind of a community Q&A, that could be something foreseeably that the Human Rights Commission could sponsor. If you would have topics or questions, hopefully try to bring in new faces that maybe in the past might have been reluctant to come to some sort of community policing type event. So I could go on and on about some of the preliminary ideas, but I think there's a lot of strength between our organizations that we could look at utilizing. And one thing that also encouraged me that Marshall brought up was some programs that he's considering for kind of further outreach to youth in the community and the surrounding area. And there's, some programs that we do currently. Fishing with Friends comes to mind, our Bus Stop Tuesdays comes to mind, and there's others. But I also think there's room for growth. And if we could get kids to come to the table, maybe there's some partnerships we could look at with Marshall and his team, with the police department, and how can we get staff from the police department and having those kind of positive connections that really don't have anything to do with the police world, but creates that, again, human element, I think is so important. So a lot of room for growth on that. And I'm always looking for ideas. So if you come up with anything tonight or you think of something in the future, my contact information is easy to find, and please share anything that you might come up with. Marshall, also made mention about Chaska Cares. And I know that Marshall did a lot of that planning, and I think that's been instrumental and has actually spread to some other communities. So I commend Marshall for those efforts. And yes, he's supported by a very good team there as well. But just looking at all of the great things that's been done under the Chaska Cares initiative already. I know Julie Janke from our department has assisted with that as well. And I think that's another really good program, looking towards the future and the growth and what that might look like will be important moving forward. But a couple, kind of parting thoughts here before I open it up if you have any questions. But when I talked about those public Q&A sessions or just getting to know people, what I really hope to accomplish, because truly getting out in the community, talking to people, getting to know each other on a personal level as much as people are willing to open up is so important to me. And I think it's vital for any community and their police department for a couple different reasons. We hear a lot about community policing. What I really think that means is it's relationship building. And then once we have that relationship established, we can really start talking about a concept that's important to me, but it's co-policing is the term that I would use. And basically what that means is taking feedback from the community. What's important to a particular community? What should be the initiatives of the police department? How should they approach particular problems? And then working with the community to develop the solutions to those issues. So it takes a lot of time to develop that and build up that trust. But I think through partnerships that I've kind of outlined preliminarily, I think we can start working towards establishing that and furthering those kind of relationships. So I wanted to keep it somewhat brief. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. But again, I just appreciate all the new faces here, and I look forward to our working relationships.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. And I think just to echo and maybe summarize what both Marshall and Ryan have put forward here, our goal really is to utilize the Human Rights Commission as a sounding board for these activities that Ryan and Marshall are previewing to you. And I think we're going to be receptive to your feedback and we want to hear it. And, you know, we may come with an idea of doing X, but you've got Y on your mind. You know, we want to hear that too. So don't be shy of sharing ideas. And I get this is, you know, our first meeting here, so I'm not expecting that you got everything put together right now. But as you get to understand what we're doing, you get more involved in the Human Rights Commission. We hold more meetings, you'll learn more and have new insights and things to offer. And we really do. We want you to offer that up and give us your thoughts. And I think that there's a strong opportunity for that to, you know, shape the way that we're proceeding here. So we're looking for many perspectives, I think, to move our stuff forward, and that only makes things better. So thanks, Ryan and Marshall, for joining us tonight. It doesn't sound like we've got any more questions or anything for you at this point, but so if you want to head off to your evenings and do whatever you've got next, that's fine. If you want to hang around, we're happy to have you. So Jen, looks like Sarah's got a question or a thought or something or another.
It's a thought.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment that it's so easy these days to criticize and to find distance between us and our neighbors. And I'm so thankful that we have the opportunity to be partners with the police department and with our Parks and Recreation department to broaden our community. And so thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Marshall, for your commitment and your organization's commitment to work with the Human Rights Commission.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. And, you know, your thought brought to mind for me that we don't necessarily have to limit our thought process either to just the Parks and Rec and Police Department. You know, they're here today and they're two that we've worked with. But, you know, if you've got an idea that comes to you, or you hear something from someone, it's like, boy, that, you know, I'd like to talk, you know, learn more about what the fire department's doing as an example, or, you know, I've got a real passion for public finance and how that might impact our community. And I don't know if that's very likely, but if that is the case, you know, we can bring staff from some of those areas to meetings and you know, engage in a discussion and share thoughts and stuff too. So just want to throw that out so you're understanding that. Okay, well, I don't want to belabor this either. I think another thing as part of this portion of the agenda was to do a welcome and introduction amongst each other, because we've got a lot of new faces here tonight. And so I think that might be a good thing to do. And one thing we've done in the past is just give everyone you know, a quick opportunity to at least, you know, introduce yourself, give your name, and, you know, just a little bit about yourself. And I don't know if we've got a topic in mind that we want to share, but maybe, you know, if you've got, you know, why you decided you want to join the Human Rights Commission, I think would be helpful for us to learn that a little bit. Couple housekeeping items that I just want to put out for the new folks so that you're understanding before we dive into that. I do want you to understand this is a public meeting, so this is a meeting that anyone from the public can come and join and observe. Usually this open forum portion of the agenda is an opportunity for a visitor to come, and we may be aware they're coming, we may not be, and in either case they can have the opportunity to share what's on their mind. So that's what this portion of the agenda is for. Typically the other portions of the agenda, anyone who's, you know, a member of the public can come. Their role is really observation at that point. The commission might invite them into the discussion, but that's not an obligation of the commission for those other agenda items. So typically, and I know, like, if you've watched a city council meeting, if there's a member in the audience that's there for an agenda item, they're going to let them talk about it. And so, you know, we want to be inviting and get people involved, but there are limits, right? We want to get through the agenda and be productive as well. This meeting is live, so someone can join us on the Zoom, and then we know that we're there, but there may also be people watching us on YouTube. There's a live stream there. And this is also on the community cable station. So reasonable to assume there's millions of people out there watching us this evening. And so, whatever you say, it is being recorded, it is out there, it's in the public realm. So I think that's the important thing to understand, and not necessarily to hold back what your true feelings are, but, formulate them appropriately in your mind before you let them out your mouth. That's always a good way to try to approach it. There's also open meeting laws. I think that it's important for you all to understand that you are a public body. And so there's open meeting law that applies. And what that means really is anytime there's a quorum, so in this case, it would be 4 or more of you in a location, you're subject to open meeting law. And so there is personal liability tied to that. My recommendation is don't assemble with 4 of you in one location. That's the easiest way around that. And we can be very careful about that. There's training opportunities in public meetings and all that kind of stuff that we'll make you aware of. Volunteer opportunity for the food distribution event. That's a good example. We'll toss these things out. I just request that let me know that you're planning to participate. And if I get to the number 4 or more, we'll make sure that we take the right steps to either organize so that we've got 3, or there's public notice that we can make in some situations as well, so that the public is aware that a quorum of the Human Rights Commission will be assembling at this location at this date and this time, and then you're in the clear. So it's really just about being open and letting me know in those situations. Now, if you show up to a party and you're all friends and there's 4 of you there, I would say just don't all assemble in a corner and appear that you're holding some sort of a meeting. Try to keep the distance and keep what the reasonable person would expect, that there's not really a meeting occurring. And I think you're more often than not, you're going to be just fine. So that also goes to electronic communication. Reply all. I would not recommend you do that, or disseminate information to the group from yourself. If there is something that you want to have shared, send it to me and I'll distribute it. Or if there's a communication going on, reply to the individual who sent that communication, or to one person, and you'll be just fine. So you just gotta be careful about, including that quorum of a group, so 4 or more. That's when you can get into sticky situations. So it is what it is. It's state law. Sometimes it feels a little silly, but that's what it is. So that's what I have for the housekeeping stuff. I'd tell you where the restrooms are, but we're not assembling at City Hall quite yet, so we'll get there for another date. So with that, I guess, why don't we go around and let's introduce ourselves. I'll help coordinate that, and I'll just kind of go around as you appear on my screen. So Commissioner Carlson, you're up.
I moved to Chaska in let's just say about 20 years ago. And I came to Chaska because of family. My parents and my brother and his family were here. And one of the great things I liked about Chaska then, and I still do, is the community. And so the reason why I want to be on the Human Rights Commission and that I applied is to promote our community to all of its citizens, and to make that contribution that connects us all. Quickly.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Hubbard.
Hello. My name is Martin Hubbard. I've lived in Chaska maybe 16 years, as long as I've been married. So I don't remember how long that's been, but we'll say about 16 years. And so it's recorded, I'm gonna get in trouble. The reason why I joined the commission, I work in Chanhassen. I've been out in this area for quite some time. And my wife's involved in the community. And, during our discussions and conversations, has got me excited and, and concerned about the city. And so just wanted to join and do my part while we're here. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Lisa White.
Well, I've been in Chaska for a little over 10 years. I joined the commission I think it's a great community. I wanted to support it, learn more about it, and just give back to the community.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Haga.
Good evening, Kaylee Haga. My husband and I have also lived in Chaska for about 10 years. We have 3 boys at high school, middle school, and elementary level, and work for the school district. I'm the director of communications and community relations, and I don't know anything about this 112 kindness, so I can't wait to talk to Sienna about this when we have some time. It sounds like a great thing. Joining the Human Rights Commission, I think what Sarah said earlier really resonated with me. I think in a time of change and division, I think there's a real potential for us to be good neighbors and to really care for each other and build bridges between folks in our community who are all here because we care about this place for whatever reason that brought us here, and how we can figure out how to build on that care for the community to develop stronger relationships with each other.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes.
Hello. I hope you guys didn't see me. I was yelling, yelling at one of my kids.
That has to be done sometimes.
8.5 years in Chaska. I joined the Human Rights Commission. A lot had to do with like my learning of what's done at this level, and I am really big on community and bridge building and being a good neighbor. And I want to promote that and help that as much as I can at the same time while I'm learning like what exactly the Human Rights Commission do, and just have my input and have you guys give me input and good feedback or bad feedback, whatever it is, to help me advance as well.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Castillo.
Hi, my name is Eder Castillo. I've lived in Chaska for about 10 years. I'm here, first of all, because Commissioner Kaylee Haga let me know about this opportunity. And I think that speaks to the influence that we have once we're a part of city leadership to be able to invite people to the table. And I hope to do the same for members of the community.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioner Sienna White.
Hi, I'm Sienna White, and I'm a sophomore at Chaska High School. And I joined this commission to kind of just help better the community and do what I can to make everyone feel a little more equal and to kind of just connect the community as one.
Thank you. And for you all, the newbies, you may not realize Commissioner Sienna White is a trailblazer. Up until she came along, we did not have a student position on the Human Rights Commission, and now we do. So that's great progress on its own. So thank you. Commissioner Sanderson.
Sorry, I have a very cheap laptop, so sometimes it's hard to unmute. My name is Hannah Sanderson. I am by far the newest member of Chaska here. We moved here approximately 3 weeks before the pandemic. My husband got a job. He's a pastor at a small church in Chanhassen. We wanted to move to the area and really just enjoyed Chaska and the sense of like a downtown and a little like, self-contained city that it has amidst so many other communities and opportunities around it. So we've enjoyed what we can since we're mostly at home, mostly enjoyed our living room, but enjoyed other parts of Chaska as well. And I have worked in human rights in my job for a long time, and I'm an immigration attorney with the Advocates for Human Rights in Minneapolis. And so I have a lot of experience on that level, but not very much on kind of the local level. And I really wanted to get involved in the community and kind of, transfer my skills and also get to know the community better in that way. So I'm excited to do that.
Right, thank you. And Commissioner Welvert.
Hi, I'm Jen Welvert, and we've lived in Chaska about, I think, 16 years. My husband and then I have 2 daughters that are both in college. but are at home most of the time now in the past year. So I've been on the commission for, I think this is starting my 5th year. And I joined it because I was looking for ways to get more involved in like community things. I had been involved in some school district things and thought it's time to broaden my horizons or something. And when I heard about the Human Rights Commission, I was just like, oh my gosh, that sounds right up my alley. And so I've really enjoyed getting to know how the city works a little bit more, getting to understand commissions better, and just really getting to network with a great group of people. So I really am excited about all the new faces here and seeing what kind of new ideas we have and what we can do together. So.
Thanks. And hey, Kevin, do you want to introduce yourself? Kevin's a important piece of this puzzle. I think he helps us. He's our communications manager at the city of Chaska. And he does all sorts of things to help us speak wisely, I would say.
Well, no, yeah. Well, I figured I'd introduce myself so people didn't think I was just kind of a weird person hanging out here.
Well, you're that too.
Yeah, well, that's part of the MO. But yeah, no, I'm Kevin Wright. I do communications with the city, so that's the department that can always do better. So it's always kind of a teetering line you walk of making sure you have job security as you can always improve and not falling too far behind the community. So what we kind of strive to is making sure we're kind of getting our message or information or things that are out in our community and spreading the word, especially with so many great things happening with the local organizations and some of the Chaska Cares and 112% kindness. I think that was 112%, right? I always forget that. But anyway, I figured I'd just have typically either myself or Mike Tudor, who's on my staff, will be here kind of moderating the meetings. So if there's any public that join, we're helping them unmute or speak or raise their hand or kind of here for technical support in case anyone has any issues joining the meeting. Typically we'll keep our video off so we're not distracting, but I know everyone wanted to see my beard today. So I made sure that to show it off to all of you. So, and that's about it for me.
I do have to say that if you're at a food distribution event, you want to be on Kevin's team because he hauls boxes very, very well.
Yeah, I'm getting good at carrying around milk, but Martin's no slouch either though. So I've seen him carrying around a lot of stuff too.
Surprised you didn't want to share with them that you're a Detroit Lions fan, Kevin.
Oh yeah, I guess I should. Yeah, so no one hates me because everyone just feels sorry for Lions fans. So we have no rivals because we hardly ever win. So it's a good place to be. You're just perpetually disappointed every season. So
that sounds like being a Vikings fan to me.
Well, but you guys the Vikings fans gets their hopes up. Detroit Lions fans go into the season knowing what's going to happen.
Sounds like a Bears fan too.
See, it's everyone other than the Packers, I guess. But yeah, no. So I'm originally from Michigan and moved to Chaska back in 2015, and then I've been with the city since 2018, March of 2018. Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. And I guess I should share a little bit more about myself. I don't need to be the mystery person in the room. So I'm Nate Cabot. I'm the Assistant City Administrator. I've been in this role for coming up on 5 years. I do live in Chaska. We've been living here for close to 4 years now. Have a wife and 2 girls at home, 7-year-old and a 4.5-year-old. So the 4.5-year-old's anxious to join the 7-year-old in elementary school coming next school year. So the reason I like Chaska, this is where I get to grow myself in my profession and also grow my family. So it's kind of cool that way. I also chose to work for Chaska intentionally. I guess I got lucky that I was hired. But I do think that Chaska is a community that's very intentional in its approach, really has a focus on developing community and putting effort into that, and being a place where, I think most people have an opportunity to come and be a part of it. And so I think the more that we can open that up and put a focus on that, the better we can all be. And so for me, I feel fortunate to be a part of that. So that's what I have to say. And I look forward to getting to know all of you more. I also want to say, think of me as a resource. So if you've ever got a question, should I be doing this? Should I have this idea, or whatever the thing is? You've got my email, you've got my phone. Don't hesitate to be in touch with me. I'm happy to at least provide you my thoughts, and you can take them or leave them. I'm not, but definitely here to talk things through and be a part of that. So with that, Jen, I'll let you keep cruising through the agenda.
Okay.
I'm gonna hop
Well,
off.
I was just going to
Thanks,
say,
Marshall.
if you guys want to take off now, you sure can.
Have a good night.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay. So we're moving on to item 4, approving the minutes from the previous meeting, which was way back in December. That was a long time ago. I hope everyone's had a chance to look through them. Were you going to say something, Sarah?
I was going to make a motion to approve.
Oh,
Second by Haga.
All right, so I will go through the roll. Commissioner Carlson,
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Castillo,
Aye.
Commissioner Haga,
Aye.
Commissioner Hubbard,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Sienna White,
Aye.
Commissioner Lisa White,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hughes.
Aye.
All right.
and
motion carries.
Wilbur?
Oh, yes, Commissioner Wilbur. Sorry.
Aye.
Of course.
Aye.
All right. It still carries.
Okay. Oh, that was tough. All right, so next comes our treasurer's report, which has not been very exciting for the last year, but Nate is our treasurer for the commission, and he can let us know updates on our finances each month.
Yep. So the commission has a $2,000 budget that it's allotted at the beginning of a calendar year. So far, this is our first meeting, and so therefore we still have $2,000 in our budget. Last year, we did not spend the full 2,000, and that's just because events that typically we would be involved in did not occur. Hopefully this year we'll have opportunity to spend that money. So I think and that should be, in your mind as we're thinking through things and bringing things forward. The goal should be to spend it all. Saving it is not doing anybody any good. So spend the money. That's what it's there for. And we'll have opportunities to do that this year.
Did last year's money roll over, or is that, do we just start with 2,000?
Start with 2,000. Yep.
No, that's come up before with the commission. We've asked if we can roll it over or even donate it in some way, but it is city money. It's a budgeted item. And so we don't really have discretion over that if it's not spent on commission activities.
Yep. And that's the rollover thing. I mean, that's a statute deal. I don't get to roll over my administration budget either from year to year. So that's just how the budgeting works.
So we need to plan well and spend it all.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Item 6, old business. Just wanted to take a couple minutes to recap, the MLK event that we had in January. I know some people were involved in the event, and I'm hoping that everyone got a chance to watch it. It is on YouTube, on the city's YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen it, I would recommend it. This has been annual highlight for me when we could have the breakfast. And I was really kind of nervous about how it would pan out this year, being all virtual, and we didn't have breakfast, we couldn't have red bench. And so, I just didn't know really what to expect would happen. And I just was really, I feel like we captured the feeling of community like we felt in the room at the event center. So I was really pleased. And like I said before, I loved partnering with Parks and Rec too. They brought some new ideas that we incorporated into the program, and that was just really an added plus to our program. I think that we can continue some of that in future years.
Mhm.
I thought it was great. I mean, I think it came together a little bit more last minute in the virtual space. I think there were some challenges in terms of some of the usual suspects weren't able to be a part of it in the way that they have in previous years. But I thought that it was an excellent job, and I know Sarah put in a lot of work in it, and I appreciate that too. So I thought, for being stuck doing it completely online, it was a really well put together. And thanks to Kevin too, because I know he and his team did a whole lot of editing to make that come together.
In other years, we normally looked at a kind of a best practices. What did we learn from this year, and how are we going to apply it for our next year's event? In this case, I don't think there's anything that we can say about next year's event other than I'd like to have it in person.
I agree with that. I'm gonna add on though that I think we were able to gain some new partnerships for this year's event that I think would be really nice to see if we could replicate in the the flesh, right, in the real world, hopefully next year. And one of them would be with the Arts Consortium and the musicians that they brought to the table. In the past, we had worked with the Chaska Jazz Band, and I think it would be great to reconnect with them too and see if there's opportunity to continue that one. But then also, add in that Arts Consortium musician piece, I think could be a good opportunity. In addition to that, we partnered with Breakaway Academy, and we had a couple of academia students as well talking about what their dream is for their future. And I think having that youth voice in there was compelling, and I think was a good add. So I think it'd be nice to figure out, can we continue with that in some way. It also got me thinking about, in the past it's been really all in person, so it's live presentations, which is great. And working with the speech team and the jazz ensemble, and having live keynote speaker, I think we want all of that stuff. But it also got me thinking maybe there's opportunity for multimedia opportunities with the event going forward too. So maybe elementary school students may be difficult to get to the event, and they may not feel comfortable presenting their thoughts in front of a live audience, but maybe to the camera they're just fine, and maybe there's a way to make that work better that way for that group, or maybe that's applicable to other groups as well. So a couple takeaways out of there that I think we can build into the future events and keep growing it. So
Anyone else?
And
I was
just
actually kind of surprised by the chat when it was actually live on YouTube, that a lot of people did use that, and it actually made it more interactive maybe than the live event's always the best, but people were able to kind of comment on what was happening while it was happening, and other people were building on those thoughts, and really kind of collaborating within the chat, which was nice to see. So I thought that was kind of a bonus that I was surprised by.
Yeah, it gave it a sense of community, even though we were all in our jammies in our living room, you know, but I did kind of, I felt after that, I felt the same way as after I leave the breakfast that's in person, you know, like, oh, there were people that were interacting and networking. And I mean, there's just an excitement that goes with it, I feel like. So that was cool, Kevin.
I think to preview later in this meeting, we've got an agenda item to form some committees, and one of the committees is the MLK breakfast group. So between now and whenever we get to that agenda item, just food for thought. If you got interest in that, that's an opportunity to get involved directly with forming the event and all the elements that go into it.
Okay. We'll move on to item 6B, which is 2021 goals and priorities. And Nate had sent out a staff report that was kind of summarizing our goals and priorities. We worked pretty hard last year on a strategic plan along with City Council. Where we had many discussions about goals and just a kind of a roadmap for the future for the Human Rights Commission. And so, that's included in your packet too. But one of the things that we do each year for the commission is kind of make some goals, look at what kind of projects we want to get involved with. And that can change throughout the year, but we try to pick a few that we can really focus on that are kind of bigger ones. And then there's usually some other things that pop up throughout the year. And so on our strategic goals, I would look at number 3 is kind of what we would be talking about in this portion of the meeting. The community engagement and education. And that kind of, the way that we do that is through different events throughout the year. Our main ones we've done before are the MLK breakfast. We have a booth at River City Days. And then what's my third one, guys? I'm missing. We usually have.
You thinking of the Human Rights Award?
Oh, the Human Rights Award. Well, I guess we've always kind of had one other major one, whether it was, we worked with Chief Knight on bringing in, a speaker for the Transfer of Memory exhibit. Mm-hmm. Or we've done the video series where we did Race the Power of an Illusion and had community discussion afterwards. Mm-hmm. We've chosen some other kind of interactive way to connect with the community. Mm-hmm. So I think that if we can just kind of brainstorm about ideas of things that we would like to work on this year as a commission, and then when we decide on, 2 or 3 major projects, then we can kind of volunteer for which committees or subcommittees that we would like to volunteer for. Those committees meet apart from this meeting during the month, usually once or twice, and then come back and report to the whole commission, kind of, fine tuning details and stuff. And then we, if we have to vote on something, we do that as a commission. But the committees do a lot of the, like the legwork so that we can kind of make it go smoother, not like how I'm talking right now. So, I didn't write that down. Can you tell?
And I think, one way to look at it too would be that this is we're planting seeds this meeting, and I think for you all to take some of these things back and think about it. We can have some of this be ongoing conversations that we take up again at the March meeting again as well. We've talked about ideas of improving the Human Rights Commission webpage, and Kevin and I have bounced some ideas around about how that could look. So I think that'd be one thing that we could start working towards, bringing some concepts to you all for feedback on what you want to see on your webpage and give you some ideas. Another thing I'd throw out there is last year we were going to proceed with a group called Green Card Voices to do a 1-month exhibit that features the stories of immigrants to mostly people that live in the Twin Cities region. And so the concept was the gallery space at the community center would be the host for this exhibit. And really what it is it's people's photos with their story, and you can go and read that and learn from that. And that can stand on its own. But then Green Card Voices also does more interactive programming where they might have a panel discussion. There's also a sort of a game that they do. And I can't speak super intelligently to it at the moment, but the intent is for people to gather, work through this game to do it more, to bring out your story of where you come from and what your background is, and begin to talk about differences and similarities and learn from each other through those discussions. So that's a group that's still out there. We've maintained dialogue with them. Last year, obviously we weren't able to gather, so it didn't happen, but towards the end of this year, I think those sorts of things, it seems like maybe more realistic. And so that could be something that if this commission has interest in, staff would facilitate those discussions and see if we could line something up, maybe looking towards the fall. And that could be an activity for us to be preparing for as the year goes, proceeds. That's just an idea. But I don't know if you all have thoughts or areas of the community, hey, I recognize that, this is a topic that's important in the community at this time. That's helpful to hear too, because then we as staff can take that back and figure out, are there programs that would touch on that, that we might want to implement, and bring those ideas back to you.
I have a question, Nate. As far as the gallery space at the community center, since the Arts Consortium is now a part of the community center, will we still have different opportunities we can use that space?
Yeah, yep. So it's a partnership, and the Arts Consortium does have the ability to host galleries there. And I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's a certain number of months that they're sort of entitled to. But then there are other months that we still maintain control over, or I don't know if control feels like a strong word, but we can, we can program those ourselves. And it's also a partnership. So I think, there's room for discussion with them and trying to make things work.
Yeah, I think the first meeting can be intimidating, although I know for a fact that some of our new members are not wallflowers. But I think one of the things that I think about, like, I think what Nate just said is if we want to come back to this next, because we're in a weird space anyway, in terms of like, what do we have the capacity to do in person versus what can we support virtually? What kind of exhibits could we bring in where it could still be safe for people to come in person? But I would just encourage folks, to start really thinking so that if we could come back next month and kind of have a concrete list, or if you have an idea in between, shoot it to Nate so he can kind of start thinking about what the city implications might be, so that we can. I know everybody joins this commission to do some good for the community, so that we can really kind of get things moving and kind of look within that strategic plan for how we can move forward. Because last year was hard. We had generated some really good momentum, I think, and then everything shut down. And so I know we're all trying to get our game back, as it were. But I'm just really excited for all these new ideas. I think I look around here and I think we've got so many different experiences and perspectives that I have a feeling it's not going to be a lack of ideas that is a problem for us. And
I would just, reiterate, don't think your ideas need to be, anywhere close to fully baked. It might just be, hey, Nate, I've been reflecting, and the topic of immigration seems like, something that's important to address at this time. And I don't know why I picked immigration, but maybe it is, I don't know. But it could be something as simple as that, or, I think we need to figure out ways to help people connect. Okay, that's great. And that's a theme, so we can work on that. So take that, chew on it a little bit, over the next month, shoot me emails or whatever, if you've got ideas that come to you, and we can, regroup on this one as well.
Is the Green Card Voices exhibit, or is there another exhibit that could be like a semi-permanent outdoor exhibit if we're not able to be inside for an event like that? I don't know what it is. I don't want it to get wet, but or is there something that we could put in like kind of by the gazebo or something like that where people could gather outside?
That's a good thought.
Kind of like the library story, like the story walks with the library, where maybe we did something through. Yeah, I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that came to my mind too, the library story. I mean, there may be a partnership there. Maybe there's a book that we want to try to feature, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be that either. I don't know if Green Card Voices is doing that, but that's a question we could ask them. What, maybe they've innovated over the last year. Yeah, that could be a thing. I think there could be, I could envision something like, yard signs or something that you could, print a story or multiple stories or feature people or ideas, whatever the thing is. And you could have that at Fireman's Park or City Square Park or Veterans Park. I mean, we've got no shortage of parks, or maybe even line a trail for some portion in our system. I think those are all opportunities. Okay. Well, why don't we, I don't know, Jen, if you had something, but I guess I was just going to say, why don't we sort of put some thought to it? Let me know your ideas and I can assemble those for, the staff report next month. Or, be ready, come ready to share some of your thoughts that, next month. You have to necessarily send them to me ahead of time. And that the outdoor idea, I will circle back with Green Card Voices and see if that's an option with them. I'll also share that idea with some of our parks programmers and see if they've got some best practice ideas that are out there that we could share. Maybe we can formulate something around that.
Yeah, that was a great idea, Hannah. I hadn't thought of that before. So, I mean, and from what I understand, the displays for Green Card Voices are similar to what was the transfer of memory exhibit. Is that what you thought, Nate?
Yeah, that's kind of what they've done in the past. But again, I don't know. I mean, I know they've had a hard time doing their programming during this time, and so maybe they've reinvented things a little bit. So I think it's a good idea to see if, let them react to it.
Yeah, I was just thinking it may involve some muscle from some of us volunteering to help move things in and out during, like when it closes at night. But I think that's a really cool idea that, okay, we can't do it in this little space. Let's go outside. So.
Yep.
Cool. Well, everyone brainstorm and send all the emails to Nate because he loves to get all of them.
I do.
I think last week I sent Nate, I don't know, maybe 8 emails in one day. And so I was like, I'm sorry, can you tell I'm working on Human Rights Commission stuff today? So.
And I only lost track of one of them, so I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, well, let's move on to item 6C, the letter to the editor. This is something that we had been talking about last year in some meetings. We really decided as a commission that we want to, introduce ourselves to the community, kind of share our purpose and what we're hoping for, and also inviting people to just get to know us, get involved, you know, we can think of all these great ideas for projects throughout the year. But if there's something really meaningful to the community and we're missing it, then that's not as good as if, you know, we're hitting the mark, you know, that getting what the people want or whatever. So, so through a couple meetings, we had discussed what we wanted to convey, and Nate and Kevin kind of put together the letter to the editor example that, or a draft, I guess. So if anyone has any thoughts about things we're missing or things that don't need to be in there, now's the time that we can kind of, because Kevin's here tonight, so we can let him know too. One thing, just it's a technical thing, but Kevin, I don't think that the Herald allows a list of names like that. We've always had to just put like the Human Rights Commission or something.
Yeah, so I know they've done that before, but I figured I'd include it just in case, even if you wanted to include it in a paragraph maybe, because I know part of that was maybe so that everyone knew who was on the commission. But really just consider this consider it a whiteboard. You know, feel free to use your red pen, mark it up. It's more so you have something to say, you know, I want to see it like this versus like the, you know. It's so don't think that my feelings will not be hurt if you have, you know, very serious or very big kind of things to add or change. So that's completely fine with me. So.
And I do feel that that Mark is kind of flexible on that, because I feel like when we did the letter, sort of taking a stand against racism, that we were individual signatories on that as well as the Human Rights Commission. So I think there may be some flexibility there. Probably depends on how heavy the letter to the editor load is on a particular week.
Yeah, and it could be formatting. I mean, we could just ask him if how we sent it that one time where he did just put the commission was because they were all just listed like I have them and you know, spaced out or what. So we can work with him on that too. It's under 500 words, so that, you know, all the names are included in that. So that's where if you have more words you'd like to say, then maybe you kind of do it as a group. But that's up to you.
So how would you like comments?
However you'd like to give them.
I think it would be helpful if the goal is to have a product that we want to get to the Herald before the next meeting in March. It'd be good to, you know, throw them out here and maybe come to a resolution. Now, if you're all not worried about time, I guess then we've got that gift and we can you know, submit ideas or thoughts between now and March and come back with a revised version.
Well, I would say then, if you want comments now, in bullet or number 3, you wrote, we want to engage in our community. I would put another sentence in there, mindful of our 500-word limit, that says, if you are a service organization, or if you want to find out if you would like to come and talk with us, we'd like to hear from you. I know you say adding resources to our website in there, but I'm thinking that we should offer to engage. So if I'm a person in the Chaska Lions group and I read this and I say, oh, they want to engage with us. Okay, how can I do that? So just putting more inclusive language there that says, we want to hear from you. And if you're a service organization, let us know.
Yeah.
I was excited to see that we have a Human Rights Commission email address. Does that go to you, Nate?
It does. Yep. So it
Okay.
shows up in my inbox. And I've received a couple already that I've responded to.
Good.
People just asking, what the Human Rights Commission does, or how they can get involved, that sort of thing, is what it's been so far.
I did notice that your picture is still is the representative photo for the Human Rights Commission. And although I'm not opposed to the photo of you, Nate, I'm thinking maybe we could find something more neutral.
Oh, it's been so long since we don't even look. I don't think there's a picture that would look even remotely current, because it's been so long since we've been in person. We've got all these new faces.
That's
So
been the struggle. Typically, this meeting, it would be either me or somebody maybe with a better camera, get in front of all of you sitting up at the DS in the council chamber and taking a photo, and that would be the thing that we would use. But yeah, being on Zoom for getting close to a year now, that opportunity just hasn't really presented itself. We could do a photo like, Brady Bunch style, like we've got going on right now. Or we could meet up in an outdoor location if people felt comfortable with that, and quickly gather for a photo or something. Otherwise, it's probably a waiting game. We could just, and I'm not offended either, if you want my photo off the website, which would have been my advocacy to begin with, we can do that too. So
Yeah, we could use the logo.
I was going to say, why not use our logo?
Sure.
Yeah, because we have the new email address above Nate's photo anyway, so we can just put that there and then kind of just take off his contact information anyway, because the email address would just be what they would want to use to get in contact, and we'll keep the physical address as well as the phone number can stay the same, but we'll just put the logo for now, and then as we're able to gather, or however you want to fill that space, we'll work with you on that too.
Going back to the letter just for a second, can you define diversity? When I read, the letter, when I think about Human Rights Commission, I think of one thing about race, but I think diversity goes a little farther than that. I think the commission is kind of a little more wide open. I don't know, a little more diverse, I suppose. But if we could define it to something other, so when you read it, you don't think just about race. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, especially with some of the work we've done with the Iconic group and those in our community with special needs, and there's a whole range of folks that have different needs and are part of our community that way too. So would you want it to kind of be a paragraph, Martin, that says kind of describing kind of what that umbrella would be?
That would, a couple of sentences or so.
Okay.
That'd be my thought. I don't know what anyone else has to say about it, but.
Good point.
Yeah, I think, the past year especially, race has been the center of the diversity conversation, but I think it's important we're the Human Rights Commission. So, that encompasses a lot more than just race.
Important not to get lost.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then that keeps you open to your partnerships within the community and different organizations. So if that kind of keeps more people in the oh, hey, I'll reach out and I can talk to them then.
Mm-hmm.
Something I think we should consider is language inclusivity and translating this letter into other languages. I know that most likely we can't publish it in 3 different versions in the newspaper, but I'm sure we could link it or social media or some way for a Spanish reader, for example, to be able to go and read this letter in their natural language. And I'd be happy, I only know Spanish other than English, but I'd be happy to translate anything that we do want translated.
Excellent.
I think that's very doable, and we can certainly, post the versions on the website and maybe make, I don't know, is there a way to make mention in the letter itself so that people are aware that it exists in other languages on the website or something? But for you all to know, I think this is the first year Kevin has a translation item in the communications budget for the city. And so we've made some connections and put dollars towards this very thing for this purpose. So.
And these are the exact kind of things that, we want to make sure we can translate and get out there. So thanks.
I assume Spanish and English are the biggest ones. Is there like a third language that's really common in Chaska?
Mm-hmm.
Somali is probably.
Yeah, so typically with, especially within the last years where we've probably grown our ability to translate, we've mostly done English, Spanish, and Somali.
Kaylee, what does the school district typically do for translation? Those 3 languages?
Yeah, it's the same. Somali is a little bit more of a challenge just because most of the district messaging tends to be kind of breaking news and we need a little bit more time. So we push that out separately, but we end up getting all 3 up on the website as soon as possible.
I just wasn't sure if we're missing something, some of their population that we should be taking note of.
That's really good good news to hear about translation services, because when in a meeting, I believe actually it was my interview to be on the Human Rights Commission to be reappointed, I asked about translation, and I thought I heard that it was going to be very costly. So that's great news that it's been put in the budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is costly. So, it's trying to strike a balance as to what are we able to translate. I think is kind of where we're at right now. But I think that's something that, Kevin and I continue to talk about. How do we continue to grow that ability and that capacity? Because ideal world, right? Everyone can access what they're needing to access in a language they understand. So.
Sure.
All right, any other thoughts on the letter? I guess for next steps, if there aren't any other thoughts, I think next steps would be, we've got some good comments and feedback here. I think, Kevin, if you want to take the lead, I guess, in incorporating some of that, and you and I can work on that. What I would recommend then is I could send the edited letter out. You all take a look at it. If you're feeling like it's fine, give me the okay. And I think we would be in a position that we could still, submit it to the Herald before the March meeting. If there's significant changes or thoughts that we need to work through, we would probably be at a point where we need to bring it back at the March meeting and work to that and get to a conclusion that everyone's comfortable with. But it seems like everyone's pretty much on the same page. I think if we can incorporate this feedback, hopefully we've got a pretty good close to final product to submit to the Herald. Does that sound okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, thanks.
And with that, I know if you submit it by noon on Monday, it could run by Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it may not be next Thursday's paper, but we'll try to get it in, one of them between now and the next meeting, one of the March editions.
Madam Chair, before we leave old business, I wanted to just share the purpose of the diversity calendar that Nate sent out. This was an old business item that we talked about in 2020. And I volunteered at that time to research as much as I could diversity calendars that other universities, local communities, cities, municipalities utilized in their daily operations. And so I did quite a bit of research and gleaned sometimes just one, but sometimes two topics to feature each month. What we talked about was having an event or having something on our webpage each month that talked about diversity. And so I had sent that to Jen back in, I don't know when, and Nate was able to send that out to you. So I still think that's a good idea. I'd like to take the idea and say, if we can put a local spin on each month, if we like the idea and put a different item up each month on our webpage, that would be a good idea. But if you were confused as to why you got that, that's the reason. And Kaylee, yes, I finally finished it.
And I feel like this would be a great guide for us to refer to when we're thinking about different activities and events that we want to have throughout the year that might help with what time of year we want to plan something. If it coincides with a month where that's highlighted anyways. And I also feel like maybe when we talk about committees, if there should be a committee that develops ideas of how we want to do something monthly, that isn't necessarily an event, but something like what Sarah was saying about putting something on the website, or giving things to Kevin to put on social media that just kind of the focus for the month is this, and we could give a few things that he could put on there throughout the month or something. So I just think that might be another committee that we could do instead of taking meeting time each month to figure out what's going to go on for the next month.
Mm-hmm. I think if the commission wants to move in that way, that's definitely a doable thing.
I think it's a good idea. Can I add one thing to the calendar? For some reason, it just stuck out to me. Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, which is in May. I know you have a lot of stuff on here. You did a great job. I'd be lost, but I spent 7 years at McDonald's, and the only thing that sits in my mind is that 1 month. Don't ask me why, it just does. I don't know. But
that's good, Martin. That's good. You tell us about that.
Asian Pacific Islander Month, is that what you said?
Asian Pacific American Heritage Month.
Oh, American Heritage, okay.
I had to Google it because originally I put Pacific Islander Month because that's what I remember.
Yeah.
But Google corrected me on the correct title.
Okay. I just typed it into the calendar.
When I was at McDonald's, usually between May and the end of June, we had a diversity council with McDonald's corporate. And so we would, not trying to plug them all, but we would, each particular group, whether it was African American or Native American or Asian, whatever it may have been, we set up like a little walkthrough. So we talk about our culture, and then the corporate staff would come through and they'd learn about a different culture or whatever it may be. So yeah. So it kind of goes with the, it's Hannah. Did I say that right?
Hannah.
Hannah?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of goes with what she was saying about putting stuff outside and kind of walking through and looking. That's kind of what we did. So, and it's going to take me a while to get your names Correct. I'm sorry. I see a lot of you on Facebook and I'm like, what, how do you say their name? So just bear with me.
Hanukkah or Honolulu usually help people.
All right.
All right. Well, I jotted down, I added that to May, at least in the copy that I've got on my computer. So that'll be there. And I think if the group is interested, well, that can be one of the subcommittees that we form here in this upcoming item. That sounds okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if we move on to the subcommittee, I mean, did anyone else have something to say about the calendar? If we move on to the subcommittee item, do you think it'd be good to just think about it for a month and then at the next meeting we officially form the committees? Since a lot of us are just learning all the new things tonight, and so it might be overwhelming. But if you have questions, you can, email Nate or someone who's been on the commission for a little bit longer, and we could let you know, a little more about something if you had a question. And then next month make decisions.
That's fine. I don't think there's an urgent need to create the subcommittees tonight. If we need, if people want time to sort of think through what their interests might be, that's fine. But I do want to, if it's all right, just summarize kind of how we've used these subcommittees in the past so that you can understand what you may be getting yourself into if you volunteer yourself. And I want to make it clear that I don't think we've ever had a commission that every single commissioner is serving on a subcommittee. It's perfectly okay, and it's not necessarily a requirement that you're doing this. I recognize people are busy and they've got many things that they're juggling, and so a subcommittee service may not be in the cards for you at this time. No one's going to make judgment if that's the case. So, but generally, what the subcommittees are a way to take a focused topic and move it forward between meetings. And so that group can really take some time and dig in and think about details and then bring that back to the commission as a whole and, maybe provide a summary, a progress report, ask questions of the committee, or I'm sorry, of the commission to get direction and that kind of thing. But really it's the subcommittee that's moving the thing forward to implementation. And I think it's been successful in the past. There's just not, the Human Rights Commission is unique amongst commissions in the city where you don't have a full department behind you. You've got Nate behind you. And I like to think I have the force of a department, but I also don't have the full time of multiple people either. So I think we've brought in that a little bit. We've solved that problem a little bit by getting the Parks Department and some of their staff involved in like the MLK breakfast planning, for example. And engaging with the police department to kind of get some of their staff involved. So that may change over time more and more, but I think it's still, the fact of the matter is, to move some of these initiatives forward, we need that time from you all and that energy to put into it and move it forward. So the committees that are on the staff report that I put together are the Mlk Breakfast Committee. And I think that's an integral part of pulling off that event is that committee. And there would be Parks and Rec staff that get involved in that. Kevin is often involved in that. Curling Event Center staff are often involved in that. So it's not just you all. River City Days, River City Days, I think you're probably all familiar with that event, but that's an event that happens on an annual basis at City Square Park. There's booths from various community groups that are hosted there, and the Human Rights Commission has traditionally hosted a booth at that event to just raise awareness about the commission. Usually there's a focus topic for the booth to talk about whatever that topic is. We've done affordable housing in the past. The U.S. Census was a topic most recently. Last year River City Days wasn't held, so the committee ended up not having a project to work on last year. But hopefully the event is held this year, and I think we'd want to be prepared for it. And so it seems that there should be, a committee formed this year again.
And can I say something else about River City Days?
Yeah.
Is all the commissioners are invited to volunteer at the booth.
Mhm.
The committee just does a lot of the planning of what's going to be at the booth, and like gathering all of our swag that we have at the booth. We have a sign for our commission, and we usually have some sort of giveaway. We've given away pens and stickers or fans or different things. And so the committee kind of goes through and picks out all the little details for planning the booth, but then all of us can have the opportunity to spend time at the booth interacting with the people, talking about the topic that we've discussed. Subcommittee also kind of develops any displays that we're going to have that pertain to the topic that we chose for that year, whether it's a reading, sheet you can read with more information, or if it's fabulous posters and artwork that we create or whatever. But it's really it's a fun thing, a fun subcommittee to be on, but everyone on the commission can be a part of the fun too, because they can be down there for the weekend hanging out at the booth. So it's a pretty cool committee, I think. I mean, all of them are, but that one just seems to be a lot of the fun parts of things too.
Yeah, if you're a party planner, that may be the one for you. And then the other committee that I've got listed here is for Black History Month. And so this would be actually a new subcommittee that we would form this year. I think it came to our consciousness this year that, we didn't really plan ahead for Black History Month. And in order to do something, I think, more impactful and, that's going to resonate with the community and get, more people engaged, you really got to put some forethought into it. And so I guess this would be a recommendation, if that's a goal of the commission, is to do something more substantial for Black History Month, then, this would be the path forward to do that. It's a recommendation. It would be something new, so that you all can choose how to proceed with that. I'm thinking about the calendar that Sarah presented. Maybe there's an overlap there. I don't know. That's something to explore. I would also suggest that for all of these subcommittees, we've got 3 that I'm talking about tonight. But as projects come together, like let's say we moved forward with Rivers Green Card Voices, or we did some sort of a walk exhibit in the park or something like that. Often we will create a subcommittee around that activity as well to move that forward, and then that committee lives until it's done. And then we can decide, are we doing this again, or whatever the case may be. Time commitment. Typically, these groups will meet on an as-needed basis. MLK, as you get closer, it's more frequent. We try to meet about, at least once a month to make sure things are continuing to move forward. I'll try to, we try to keep the meeting to about an hour. If we can, we'll meet when the committee can meet, right? So if you've got flexibility in your day, we'll try to do it during the workday or over lunch or something like that. But if the committee needs to meet in the evening, that's a possibility as well. I may or may not be involved in it. I haven't been as involved in the River City Days subcommittee because they've been self-sufficient and able to just kind of go and conquer it. MLK, I've been more involved in just because there's a lot of planning and things that need to happen with city facilities and that kind of stuff. So it kind of depends on what's needed. So I don't know if there's any questions or comments or anything about the subcommittees. We don't have to make the decisions tonight. We can definitely take it and let you all think about what you might be interested in, and come back next week, or I'm sorry, next month.
I guess I do kind of wonder if we want to roll that Black History Month one into sort of that diversity calendar one and think about that group kind of being dedicated to thinking about specific months and how we honor residents in our community within those different demographic groups. I don't, or maybe that's too ambitious. I don't know. I mean, I agree that we should have done something around Black History Month, but I think about some of the other, Chaska is an Indigenous name. Indigenous Peoples Month should, can that subcommittee work with the History Center to think about like what are some prominent residents that we know of from different groups? I just am wondering if we want to broaden that one.
I would offer, some of this can be trial and error too. So we could say, we want the month committee. I don't know what we're calling it. And maybe that is sort of the task up front, is to say, okay, we've got this calendar together and these are how we want to observe these various months and put something together for it. And maybe we learn that we're not making the progress that we wanted to, or maybe there's a month that we want to put extra effort into because of, whatever the case may be. And so, we're gonna form a group to really focus on that one. So you can start in a place and we can pivot. I know Kaylee likes pivot. We can pivot as needed.
Is there an opportunity to consider subcommittees that aren't listed currently?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. I work at the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, and we have a diversity subcommittee on recruiting, hiring, and retaining a representative group of staff. And I consider that to be a really powerful way to ensure that people's voices are represented, is for city payroll to be representative of the community. And I think the Human Rights Commission could play a part in advising City Council on how to recruit, hire, and retain staff that represent the community, not only on the racial spectrum, as Commissioner Martin Hubbard mentioned, but on different spectrums as well. And I think the City Council meeting, Chief Ryan, I don't know how to say his name, Seibert or Seibert? Seibert. He mentioned that he had difficulty recruiting police in general, but especially I think police that speak other languages or police that represent other racial groups. And I would love to be a part of that if that's something that the commission sees as agreeable.
Great.
Yeah, I think there could be opportunities there to talk about, just like you're highlighting, what would be some best practices that the city could take a look at trying to implement in our recruitment and retention efforts. And that is a topic that we are putting thought into, but it's a challenging one. So I think, having some insight from folks like you who've got some expertise to lend would be helpful. So.
And the exciting thing is too that as part of our strategic plan is that we have talked about how much as a commission we would like to partner more with the city council on things, work together on some things, or provide insight from a human rights perspective on different topics. And so, when it comes to things like that you were just talking about, Eder, and there's someone who is a expert in that area, it sounds like, those are natural fits for where we can plug people in to have conversations and just organically have these conversations, that's wonderful. I would know nothing about what to say at a meeting like that. So for you to come in with a skill set like that is like, oh, well, then we can start working on a project like that. We won't be at square one. So anytime that you have ideas for different subcommittees, bring them to the group. And some subcommittees may be 1 or 2 people. They don't have to be 3 commissioners. So, but if you have ideas for projects that you want to work on throughout the year, and on behalf of the Human Rights Commission, bring those ideas to meetings. Let's talk about it. And even if it's just you that's doing it, you know, that's still representing our commission in a great way.
Absolutely.
What are the,
So,
I'm sorry, what are the committees that are like a definite committee that you need people to be a part of? These are definite things that are going to happen. Are those just what's listed? So go ahead, sorry.
the two that happen annually for us are the MLK Breakfast and River City Days, unless it's canceled by COVID. But otherwise, those two happen every year. So that's a January event and a end of July event.
So for sure, by next meeting, I'm assuming, I'm just throwing this out there, I don't know, but you would need volunteers for those two groups to plan. I'm assuming it takes, well, River City Days is coming up really fast here. So at least by the 25th or March or April, you'd have to know who's going to be on that committee. Where that smaller subcommittees, such as whether it's a diversity calendar committee or whatever, I mean, it's not like I start right away, but you can still start it now and plan for a month in September and like start it and roll it that way. I don't know, but so for sure by next month, we need to know what we want to participate in.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and River City Days is the biggest time crunch right now, because you're right, July is not that far away. The good news is that most of the stuff is in a box and ready to go for the booth. So a lot of the planning committee is that, you know, we pick the topic we're going to focus on and then make displays to go with that. And then also, I think we have enough giveaways from a couple of years ago still. Otherwise the committee would order new things to give away at the booth. So it sounds like there's a lot of work for River City Days, and in a way there is, but in a way a lot of it is already planned because it is consistent from year to year.
I guess a couple things. You guys aren't used to me being so quiet, but open meeting law, I wanted to go back to that for a second. Sometimes a lot of us attend school board meetings, and so I want to know, that's already public, but how would that apply to us? Also, for River City Days, is there a way that we can like have thank you banners for, I guess, community members? So everyone I hosted like a community member of the month, and I've decided to like completely stop it after my talk with Nate. Nate, you had nothing to do with that. That was my decision. But I've decided to completely stop it because I just don't want I don't want it to be taken, or I don't want anyone to use it to their advantage to like misrepresent the Human Rights Commission. But is there a way for for River City Days for us to like put thank you banners up for like community members? One person's name that was thrown around last month when I was doing the community member of the month was Pasha. And, you know, they said that she volunteered a lot for like River City Days, and talking about that just made me think about her. So yeah, I think that was all that I had right now. But I'm listening because I'm learning, or trying to learn anyway. But when I feel like I need to learn, I won't speak as much. I'll be listening more so than anything. So that's why the quietness will come in, and you guys are still out of that now.
Well, that's fine. I think as far as specifics of what happens at River City Days, I think that's exactly what the subcommittee is really for, right? And so I think that would be something if you got an interest there, Dante, you might want to put your name in the hat for that one and sort of develop some of those ideas about how you want to use the booth, what it is that the subcommittee wants to sort of recommend to the commission of what sort of activities might happen on the booth this year,
absolutely,
next year, how that might be. So I think that would be the path there. I think as far as a quorum is a quorum no matter where it forms, and so that's part of the burden. I don't know if it's burden or opportunity, but that's part of being on the commission. So if you've got 4 or more of you attending a city council meeting, that's getting into a dangerous territory there. So my recommendation would be to coordinate with each other. If you see, if you see 4 of you there, maybe it's a good time for someone to step out, or maybe you want to even be a little bit more proactive than that, so you don't get yourself in that situation to begin with. But yeah, I recognize that you're an appointed Human Rights Commission member, and so when you are attending these things, it's hard to parse out whether that you're in some respect, right, you're representing the Human Rights Commission in those public forums, and so that's part of being appointed to a commission. I think and you can certainly attend these things. You should express your viewpoints. You should be a part of those conversations. Make it clear that it's your perspective that you're representing. But that quorum piece still holds true no matter where you're at. So,
right. I remember on the Zoom call the other night, the lady I remember her that she kept saying that discussing official city business, and that part stuck with me. So I just wanted to make sure that I exactly knew what that was, if it was just meeting in general and being in the same place, or if it actually had to be discussing something city.
Yeah, and it all comes down to risk reward. I mean, someone's got to challenge it. No one challenges it. If a tree falls in a forest, I don't know, there's a saying around that, but I think there's also the risk of perception that can be created also. So there may be 4 of you there, and you're talking about how Kevin's Detroit Lions are never going to succeed, but the person watching you doesn't know that, right? And so they may leap to their own conclusion about what's going on in that discussion, and that's where you get into a sticky situation that you didn't intend, you weren't trying to create, but there it is. So that's what you gotta be careful about.
Just needed some clarification around that.
Yeah.
Do subcommittees have to be 3 or less members? Yes.
Yep.
But then it also can include Nate, and then other community members that we join with on that project. So like Parks and Rec staff or somebody like that, but only 3 commissioners.
Yep.
I'm not sure what I missed when my toddler was screaming, so I apologize. But I don't have any ideas, but I think, thinking about July coming up quickly, May is coming up more quickly. And I think it would be nice to think about if there's a way that we could honor George Floyd, and just think about the anniversary of his death. And if there's a way that we can, I don't know what it would be, but just think about, if there's a way that we could honor that, and kind of the conversations and the sea change that has brought in our communities, and obviously a lot more to do, but just something that would be nice to think about if that's something we're able to do.
That's a good idea. Well, maybe to see if I can summarize here and fill in any blanks that I leave out. But it sounds like maybe the group is wanting some time to think about which committees you're interested in. So for some of you, this is your first exposure to it. And so it also sounds like there's a lot of ideas about, trying to do things tied to the calendar. So I guess I would recommend that let's have a calendar subcommittee, and maybe we'll call it that, or if you come up with a better name, I'm open to that. So maybe that's one to think about. And let's come back next month. We'll have the MLK, the River City Days, and maybe we'll just start with the calendar subcommittee. Unless if people want to see a Black History Month subcommittee, I'm not trying to discount that. So we could have that one as a fourth if you want. If not, we can start with the calendar, and just come back next month and offer up your interest. And in the meantime, if you want to let me know kind of where your thoughts are at, that's helpful too. So if we see, there's like 6 of you interested in one and we're kind of falling short in somewhere else, I can help at least provide that feedback for your thought process as well. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
Okay. Excellent.
Gotta find my agenda here. We're on page 2, you guys, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to item 7B, which is the election of officers for chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer for 2021. And typically what we've done in the past is have Nate as city staff be our treasurer, because as a commissioner, we really can't do anything with the funds anyways. We'd have to go to Nate. And so if we have discussions about money, then we talk about it at the meeting, but then we let Nate take care of the behind the scenes work for it to get it done. So I don't know if we just want to move forward with a vote on that right now, unless there's someone else who has a burning desire to be treasurer. You can nominate yourself, of course. Otherwise, I thought we could just get that one out of the way because that's kind of an easy one.
We might want to add secretary to that one too. As somebody who's been secretary, it's a whole lot easier to have Nate go through and pull together.
Yeah, honestly, I would recommend that the secretary piece and the treasurer piece sit with staff. I just think it's gonna be a whole, and again, if someone's passionate about it, by all means, but I think it's gonna be a whole lot easier for you to participate in the meetings, and it's much more clerical work in nature anyway that staff is well equipped to handle.
So do we need a nomination or anything like that for you? We can just let you do that.
That's fine.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Happy to serve.
Thank you, Nate. Okay, but we will vote on the role of chair and vice chair, which is any one of us commissioners. I did write something out tonight that I'm going to read. But before I do, I was just also going to let anyone know that if they would like to make a nomination, they're welcome to. Everyone gets to vote on this, and we'll have to do it by voice vote, but I can read what I have first, and then if there are other nominations, then we can do that. I feel it's time to elect a new chair for the Chaska Human Rights Commission. I have served as chair for 3 years. I have really enjoyed my time and I've learned a lot, but I've always seen myself as part of a team, and I feel I can still make a meaningful contribution on the commission while someone else serves in the role of chair. I appreciate the commissioners' confidence they placed in me each time I was reelected, yet I feel it's important to have change in leadership in order for the commission to grow and explore new opportunities. A transition to a new chair could bring fresh ideas and leadership to the commission and to our community. I've really enjoyed collaborating with Commissioner Sarah Carlson over the last several years, and her insight has been so valuable as she served in the role of vice chair. Sarah frequently brings her unique perspective to all discussions we've had. She has extensive, deep roots with several community organizations and has led by example in ensuring human rights are considered in the various areas that she's involved with. I personally really respect her passion for fair treatment of all people and her excellent leadership qualities that she's taught me a lot. I would like to nominate Commissioner Sarah Carlson to serve as the next chair of the Human Rights Commission for Chaska.
You need a second for nominations, Nate? Because I would
Yep.
enthusiastically second that nomination.
All right. Well, so there's a motion and a second on the floor. So what we would do next is to vote on that, unless there's any discussion of other nominations or of the nomination that's been proposed. All right, so the motion is for Commissioner Carlson to serve as chair. There's a second for that, so I'll call roll for the vote. Just want to make sure I have my list in front of me so I don't miss anybody. Commissioner Carlson.
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo.
Aye.
Commissioner Haga.
Aye.
Commissioner Hubbard.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Sienna White.
Aye.
Commissioner Lisa White.
Aye.
And Commissioner Dante Hughes.
Aye.
All right, then the motion
And
carries.
Commissioner
Commissioner
Wilbur.
Wilbur. I keep forgetting to come back around to you. Sorry.
Aye.
All
Yes,
right.
Sarah. Yes.
All right, well, the motion carries. And then that leaves the vice chair position available for a nomination.
I would like to say that I also have really enjoyed working with Kayla Haga for the past several years, and I think she would be a wonderful vice chair for this coming year. So I nominate Commissioner Haga.
I second that nomination.
All right, we got a motion to say, does Commissioner Haga accept the nomination? I suppose might be a good question to ask.
I would very happily be Commissioner Carlson's lieutenant.
All right. So there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, so I'll call the roll. Commissioner Carlson,
Yes for Kaylee.
Commissioner Castillo,
Aye.
Commissioner Haga.
Aye.
Commissioner Hubbard,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Sienna White,
Aye.
Commissioner Lisa White,
Aye.
and Commissioner Dante Hughes,
Yes for Kaylee.
and Commissioner Jen Welvert.
Yes.
All right, so that motion carries as well. So the next step for this one is the council does need to approve, and they typically do. So this will go to the council from me as the staff liaison at their March 15th meeting is the next time they'll be holding a regular meeting. To say that Sarah Carlson has been nominated and voted to be chair of the Human Rights Commission, and the same for Commissioner Haga as vice chair. So then that's typically a consent item, which means the council doesn't even necessarily really discuss it unless they desire to. It's not something that staff would present, so it's less formal. But at any rate, assuming that goes forward, then you will officially be the chair and the vice chair. So that would be the March meeting on the 25th, and that you would both assume those roles for the first time.
Great.
Okay.
Question for you regarding the page 4 of the agenda, where you have the list of all commission members. You have listed that some commission reappointments are for 2 years, others are not. Can you clarify that?
Trying to find the item you're referring to.
This is a table on page 4.
Okay.
Because I know that reappointments are for the same original 3-year term, aren't they?
Yes, they are for a 3-year term. So maybe to clarify, it's 3 calendar years. So you'd be serving the full calendar year of, for example, Commissioner Haga was reappointed in February of this year. So she'll serve, her first year would end December 31 of this year, 2021. Her second term would end December 31st of 2022.
Okay.
And her third term would end December 31st of 23. So that's why you see it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. The exception here is the youth position. So Commissioner Sienna White serves in that, is a 1-year appointment. And she is eligible to reapply to serve 3 terms of 1 year. And that's just because the nature of the youth position, often they're high school students who, in her, like in Commissioner Sienna White's situation, she's a sophomore. Presumably she would graduate in 3 years and be off to, I'm sure much bigger, better things. And so probably unavailable at that point to serve. So.
Before we move on, I would just like to thank Jen for being a great chair. This is a thankless job for sure. There's no real benefits necessarily to taking that on. And she came in, I think, really, we have a strategic plan in place and have really gained a lot of momentum. And I think a lot of that has been because of Jen's commitment to moving the needle. So for those of you who haven't had a chance to get to know her yet, I'm glad she's not going anywhere. But I really appreciate your taking that role on and really helping to move us forward, Jen. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jen.
Absolutely.
I've really enjoyed it, and I am not going anywhere. So I'll be contacting my chair and vice chair frequently with all my ideas.
I'm reconsidering.
Okay.
Before we close the meeting, I just wanted to make mention of the passing of our good friend and one of the original members of the Human Rights Commission, and that was Barbara Kohlhap. There was a wonderful service that spoke to her life and her dedication to human rights through her teaching, through her senior work, giving all to her community this past Saturday. And I feel confident that she's smiling today as she looks at the Human Rights Commission of 2021 and sees what great opportunities we have to serve our community. So just wanted to share that final kind of note of memory to Barbara Kohlhap.
Thank you, Sarah. I That was going to be the next thing I was going to say. And once again, I wrote something up because I knew I wouldn't find words for this. But just to kind of piggyback on what you had said, I'm just going to read mine because I do better that way. I want to take some time tonight to remember the life of Barbara Kohlhepp. Among her pursuits for justice and education, Barbara was a founding member of the Chaska Human Rights Commission. Her passion to elevate the dignity and gifts of all individuals in our community was infectious. She inspired everyone she met to do better, challenge yourself, and to find joy in the opportunities presented to each of us. Her commitment to the Human Rights Commission and human rights was apparent. Just ask any number of folks who have served on the Chaska HRC over the years. Most of them would probably declare they had served with and learned from Barbara in their tenure with the commission. Barb famously served her 3 terms. Then she stepped down when it was required by the commissioner's policy. She'd encourage others to apply to commissions or find other ways to contribute in the community. But when enough time had passed and there was an open position on the commission, she reapplied so that she could get right back to work alongside us. Barbara was a gentle warrior for justice. She spent countless hours coordinating learning opportunities, connecting neighbors, and ensuring everyone's voice was heard. She had an extraordinary gift of making each person she met realize their importance in making a difference. We'll miss Barbara's spark, but I know her wisdom and love will live on through our lives, through the lives that she's touched throughout our community. And I'll miss her, and I'll miss driving her to Human Rights Commission meetings. I just want to add one other note to that. It's a little bit different, but kind of connected. I also found out recently that Judith Meisel, who was our speaker at the Transfer of Memory exhibit, she passed away in November. And I just want to, just express my gratitude for meeting her and hearing her story, and for her coming out to Chaska to speak to our community about all her experiences. And I just wanted to let those of you who knew her that she had passed away.
Thanks, Jen.
I don't have something super uplifting for the end of the meeting. Sorry to end it on that note.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just would say, our next meeting is scheduled for March 25th. If anyone's interested in that workshop series that Marshall talked about earlier tonight, Nate has a Zoom link for it. And so maybe you can send that out, or the registration link.
Mhm.
You send that out to everybody, then I think they said there was 19 spots left. So if people are interested, can more than 3 of us go to that, Nate?
No, that would be a quorum situation again. So I know it's a bugger, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's a first come, first serve. So if you think it sounds like fun, sign up with Nate.
I guess if there are more than 3, or if there's 4 or more that want to register, we would just need to coordinate that we're providing appropriate public notice of that. So that could be an opportunity. You would just need to make sure that I'm aware of the dates and times of the meetings, and we would just publish that.
And I did ask Aaron if it's a requirement to be at all of the sessions. because 2 of them fall on nights that we have Human Rights Commission meetings. And she said the preference is for you to attend all, but if you can't make it to every single one, that's okay. That's all I got tonight. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Commissioner Carlson,
Yes, and good night to everyone.
good night. Commissioner Castillo,
Hi, nice to meet you.
Commissioner Haga,
Yes, thanks for being troopers tonight, guys.
Commissioner Hubbard,
Hey, nice meeting all of you.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye, good night.
Commissioner Sienna White.
Aye.
Commissioner Lisa White, I think, has already adjourned herself due to battery failure, and Commissioner Dante Hughes.
Aye, and good night and thanks everyone.
Commissioner Wilbur.
Aye. Good
All right.
night.
Have a good evening. We'll see you next month, if not sooner. Be well.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.